Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Let's jump to the class for today. Haha. So let me reshare the link for today for those of us that are. Let me just quickly check the WhatsApp group and the Zoom chat. We'll wrap it up on Wednesday, but we'll start today, okay? Uh, I didn't have a choice. It was important we spend some time with the IT audit section too. I didn't plan it earlier on, but the job numbers kind of made me recalibrate and say, you know what, we better open up more options for our community. So we have to make that happen. Okay, let me share my screen. If you don't mind, please make sure you join that link real quick. So we're going to jump into SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. I know what you are probably thinking. Why would we care about this or why would we need this? Sometimes for organization that build solutions or that have departments that enhance or build solutions, it's always important to follow the software development lifecycle in a secure way. So that means if they're building a solution in the organization, we want to make sure it's structured. There is an element of providing oversight from a quality assurance point of view, then ultimately efficiency in general. So, what is SDLC? This is a structured framework that guides how software development is being built from the initial concept of thinking about it to ultimately deploying it and beyond. Some of you would join a mentorship program kicking off probably in a few days or weeks. And it's for people that want to build solutions, someone to mentor, hold your hand, guide you on that process. It's a different program entirely, and it would help you to really understand the nuances of building solutions, really. And that's the goal of that. So you would learn things around security by design, privacy by design when you build a solution also. We are cyber folks, GRC folks. So what we learn and do, we better apply it to our own business, right? Very important too. So big one out there, at the end of the day, every development you make in terms of software must align with your business need. Nobody builds a solution because maybe now with AI you can say I want to build it out of fun, hobby, right? But if you are bootstrapping a business and you are building the solution, even if it's a Shopify card or AWS store, whatever store you're building, whatever it is, it's still because you have a business need and you are aligning technology to help your business need. So that's the same thing for organization. But big organization, because any security flaw as a result of development can become a global crisis for you easily. You know, one of my clients, Fortune 50, probably the largest food and beverage in the world, or second largest. Arguably, everybody must have eaten there within a month. One of the things about them is they were lucky. Just right before COVID, we deployed their digital transformation. So they were able to, luckily, they did it just right before COVID. It would have been horrible. But they were able to now do like your Uber Eats and all those DoorDash and all that because they could, we already transformed their business digitally. So they could get reward. You can go to the line, give them a code, and they will give you points and all that stuff. But you can imagine as they're building the solution, it exposes customer information because now, as part of the reward program, customer must put their record in it, right? Their information and their email. So you can imagine how potentially that can be a risk to them if they compromise privacy of their customers. So it's a big deal. So they should go through secure software development lifecycle. That's a big thing. Ultimately, you have to find a way to also track progress. Okay. What is the purpose of risk management? I think at this point, all of us are risk people already. If you miss this answer, I think instead of taking you to go and grab margarita, I'll go and give you um, fine zobo for you. No margarita for you. Fine zobo for you. Okay, good job, everybody. You all got it. Awesome. Okay. All right. The phases of software development lifecycle, think about it like this. If you're building a solution right now, we'll plan and gather requirements for your solution. We analyze it, we design it, the architecture, how it will look like, the flow. Then we start developing coding, right? At the end of the day, now, let's pause. You guys remember now? How many of us agree some of this might have been slashed a little bit because there are tools today with AI, famous.ai, quite a number of other tools, B44, couple of other tools out there today. You can build automatically to analyze, it to design and code. So it's not like a silo approach again. It can happen all at once, right? Then you can now go into do your testing. And those two also help with deployment. That is crazy. But we still need to follow those processes. Okay, at the end of the day, these are some best practice to make sure we can provide security oversight when people are building solution. So does it apply to every company? Let me ask you guys. Does SDLC apply to every company and why not? Oh, I like that. Somebody said, Marianne, you're trying to get something out of me. Those of us in consulting, we are trained not to tell the name of our clients, but you can always figure it out. By the time I give you the profile, most of it you figure it out that, you can figure it out. But okay, let's see. What do you guys think? Um, let's see some comments. I love that. Who said that? AI read. Oh man. Is that Aisha? I think that's Aisha, right? Yeah. Whoever AI read is, that is awesome. Yeah, that's it. Not every company is into software development. Yes, that is the answer. Because most times, if you're not developing software, then it's not applicable to you really. So you're just doing your operation. There's no SDLC involved. So you're good. All right. But if you have some element of development in your organization, then naturally this would be a big part of your process and you have to put it in consideration because as you're deploying the code, the code based to your network, if somebody's sneaking in malicious code, then they can use backdoor channel to get to your application, your database, your operating system, your cloud. It's such a huge risk that you can't mess with it, right? So you have to make sure it's secured. So SDLC is always a big one out there. We need to be very mindful of, okay? So because the risk is so big, if you mess it up, that's a big one. All right, that's a quick one. How many phases are in SDLC? Let's see if we're paying attention. How many phases are in SDLC? Somebody said mini, mini, many more. Come on now, don't do that. All right, let's see my mini, mini, many more people. You guys are guessing it. Six phases? Yes. Woohoo! Awesome job. All right. Okay, good job, everybody. Okay, let's find out which phase involves coding. Out of the phases in SDLC, which of them involves coding? Design phase, the planning, the testing, the development, the deployment. Which of them involves coding? It is so much fun. We have 64 people on Zoom, and I have 76 people on Kahoot. You all are amazing. Ah, miracle. That is awesome. What is the last phase of SDLC? What is the last phase of SDLC? What is the last phase of SDLC? Is it design? Is it testing? Is it planning? Is it deployment? Well, one takeaway you should think about is, um, you know, not every environment will need SDLC because they don't do any development work. Even when you do assessment, sometimes you realize, okay, you would skip that part of, if you're using ISO or even NIST, you might skip some section that are not applicable to your client base. And everybody appreciates that because we don't waste time on areas not applicable to us. Makes it easy for everybody, right? So it's an easy one. Okay, so we have the planning, analysis, design, development, the testing, the deployment in general. So that's the flow of it in general. So what does it entail at the planning and requirement phase? This is just a phase where the business analysts come in, they get their business requirement specification, they document it, what is needed. So this is the phase where you're gathering requirement. That's what you're doing really. If you are using Agile, you are acting as a product owner and you're building a vision document at this point in time. So um, requirement documentation, you align with the stakeholders, you establish timeline to execute the project itself. Two and three is where you do analysis and design. So this is where you go in and start translating those requirements and understanding the specific of the function itself. You start doing the security requirement, then you get to the design phase. At this point, you are designing the back end of how the flow would be, the database, the user interface. If there's an API, which is just a connector, you're checking the requirements around the API, the security around it, the privacy around it, the integration of the API to the third party you're working with. So at this point, you're kind of getting into the details. Then you're checking the requirement, analyzing it, checking the prototype of what you're building also at this point in time. Development is where you now start writing the code, the developers start doing their thing. At this point, I'm also very involved to see, are we testing here to make sure no kind of compromise happens? So yeah, we're doing code review. Many times the peer of the developers will review their code, version control, intensive documentation, integration testing, performance monitoring to make sure there is no potential gap or problem as we progress also. Um, Phase 5 testing, this is a series of tests that will keep going on at this point in time. Unit testing, integration testing to make sure its components are still working despite connecting with multiple other resources. System testing, end-to-end functionality and performance in general. User acceptance testing, at the end of the day, the folks that will be using your solution, you want them to test it also and provide their blessing before you wrap up that particular functionality in general. Then a lot of automated testing tools are there today. Then many times, if there are humans, customers that will be using it, sometimes if they're internal customers, you want them to go ahead and still test the functionality also before you proceed in general. Then ultimately, deployment and maintenance. This is equally important. You want to make sure at the end of the day, whatever you move to production, you move it in a safe and well orchestrated manner. And that would include things like change management also. You're tracking the changes. You want to make sure there's necessary approval. You have a rollback plan if there is an emergency and we need to roll back for any reason. Then, of course, we monitor the performance also at the end of the day. But that's really the gist of it. One thing that is a popular thing out there today is beta release. So at this point, you will notice companies like Google, they would have a solution they test. I'll tell you one thing in case you're not aware. A lot of the big players, they have some of the biggest failures in terms of rollouts out there. So the likes of, I don't know if you guys remember Google Plus. Google Plus was supposed to be like social media competing against Facebook, right? Remember then? Trying to connect us together. We had Skype also. We had quite a number of tools that have been historically people trying to spin it up from. That's why when you are in a product and you are the core, you have a core functionality and area, it's hard for people to compete against those core area because you've put a lot of energy and focus on those core area, right? So you will see now the likes of Google and even Facebook, when they launch a new product, they are constantly at a state of beta. You see beta, they're just constantly using user group to test the functionalities. When they make pivot and they are making slight changes, they will keep it at beta phase for some time because so that you will not be discouraged. You are constantly giving them feedback. So um, you'll be wondering, these guys have been on beta testing for 2 years. It's by design. They don't want to make you mentally think they are ready or they are finished because they are testing your data. So people keep it at beta stage to keep testing and not exposed to the industry criticism that your product is a failure necessarily. You can always spin it and say you're still at beta phase, even though I don't know how to say 2 years and you're still at beta phase. That's, yeah, something else is going on for sure.